you miss me? I've been out of a comatose, but the depression is over.
Hello and welcome to Controlled Burns, the hobbyless podcast from me, your host, Andrew Burns, or Slow Burn from Wildfire Gaming. I'm joined this week again by my wife, Reagan. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Um, we did a discussion a few weeks ago, I think, talking about the third Song of Ice and Fire book, which is Clash King.
No?
No,
Keep trying.
Storm of Swords.
Hey, you got it.
Yeah, and well, we couldn't do one thing that we had historically done with the books is I had ranked the book characters, but before recording that podcast, we'd also done we'd read through A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which is the three short stories from the Duncan the Tall and Aegon.
Yes, they were three separate short stories written for different anthologies and stuff, and then they combined them in 2015 into A Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
The book that I have is from 2015. Um, and so that kind of I couldn't really felt like I couldn't really do the character list, or it would be like I would have to omit a lot of characters because I had already incorporated those into the list. So what I want to do is talk about the book and all three short stories from A Night of the Seven Kingdoms today. Obviously, there's the show going on right now that is based on the first short story. So I think we're going to save our discussion for that until next week, and then we'll be able to kind of talk about I guess, the first half of the show because I think there's 6 episodes, and then we'll kind of do what we did with some of those earlier Game of Thrones seasons where we compare them to the book, I suppose. So that's kind of the plan for our coverage of this. I think I'll do a separate list maybe even after we do our first show discussion where we have an episode just dedicated to ranking the book characters. So we'll save that for a podcast down the road. So that's the plan right now.
Quick note on spoilers. We'll be talking about everything that's revealed in the three short stories, but not anything that may happen to these characters after that time. Some of that stuff is revealed in Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons, mostly Feast for Crows, I think. And Andrew is only maybe 6 chapters into A Feast for Crows right now. So we might revisit some of these conversations as we do future episodes on the last two books that are out so far. But for now, please no spoilers about the fates of Dunk and Egg until we get there or label them.
Okay, so before we go any further, the Controlled Burns is a weekly hobbyless well, somewhat weekly, bi-weekly, whatever, whenever we get around to it. Podcast with a particular focus on lists and topics related to video games, music, TV and film, and other hobbies and aspects of pop culture. If you're interested in writing into the podcast and having your comments or questions read on air, you can at ControlledBurnes with an ES at gmail.com. So getting into Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the first short story is called The Hedge Knight.
Yes.
So it starts with the main character, the POV, which I think I did reveal that Duncan the Tall is my number one POV character.
I think you did, and that was your teaser for this week.
Yes. So it starts with him burying the corpse of the former Hedge Knight and who he was the squire for, Arlen of Pennytree.
Yes, his father figure.
Mm-hmm. And so then he does that. He stops at an inn, which is a day's ride from the Ashford Meadow, where he knows a tourney is supposed to be taking place, and he wants to participate in it. And there's this young bald boy there that he calls himself Egg. I think.
Yes.
And so he takes care of his horses for him, and he wants him to take him with him, but he refuses
Yes.
to take him with him. There's kind of like the first hint that there's something going on with the kid. Well, I guess it's not really hinted that it's connected to the kid, but there is a kind of a drunken guy in the inn that is hinted to be a Targaryen,
Yes.
and he's very disturbed by Duncan's presence for some reason.
Yes. Does he say he dreamed of him?
In the show, he does for sure. I don't remember if he does in the book. Probably he does.
Okay.
So anyway, the next day, Duncan goes to Ashford Meadow. He sees it's very well attended by a lot of the famous houses. There's a lot of name dropping, probably, of houses in the book for fans of the main series.
Sure.
Um, so the next thing that I have for in terms of notes is he basically rents the armor from Steely Pate.
Yeah,
So
Billy
I
Pate
guess he
super
does. So
insane.
they did that a little bit. I feel like they did that a little bit out of order in the show, which of course we can talk about on the next episode. But that was kind of like later on. I felt like he hasn't talked to the Targaryens haven't even arrived yet, and he's already rented the armor.
Right. So I will say I'm a little rustier on the lore here than I am with the main series. I've never actually read these short stories. I've listened to them 3 times each, twice for an audiobook and once when Andrew read it out loud to me when he was reading them for the first time. And I think I struggle more with names and lore in general when I don't read it myself. So I'm not going to be as helpful or as much of a nerdy encyclopedia for this one. I probably am going to be influenced a little bit by what we just saw with the show, and
Yeah.
kind of it's going to bleed together a little bit. So bear with me.
So the Targaryens arrive. Some of the Targaryens arrive at the town fashionably late, I suppose. One of them is fairly rude to Duncan. Thinks he's a stable boy.
How woot.
And it doesn't say who he is at that point.
Right.
But it is quickly revealed to be Aerion, right? That's the reveal.
Yes. It's very Targaryen.
And it's as with all the Targaryens, it's very complicated who's related to who. I still don't feel like I have or who's the descendant of who. I still feel like I don't have a super good grasp of it. But we know that
The family tree pulled up if you have any questions.
the king right now is the not here.
Yes, he's King Daeron II.
Yeah.
We never see him on page. Um,
They never will because he's dead by the next one, I think, or the third one anyway.
right. He is the grandfather of Aerion. Because Aerion, the ass, um, or Bright Flame, as he's called more kindly, um, is the second son of Maekar, who is the fourth son of King Daeron II.
Right, but Baelor is older than Maekar, right?
Yes, Baelor is the eldest
In
son.
the show, they just straight up say that he's the heir.
He is the heir.
Okay, so the two older sons have died already.
No, Baelor is the
Oh,
oldest
he
son.
is the oldest. Okay,
Yeah,
so
there's two sons in
he's currently the
between.
heir. There's no doubt about it.
Yes, and the Hand of the King.
And that hand of the king, yes, but he hasn't been introduced yet, and for where we are in the book. So, um, Duncan has to sell his horse Sweetfoot for money to afford even just to rent the armor that he's trying to rent from Silly Peyton. He's upset about that.
It's very sad. It's amazing how fast you can get attached to a horse.
But he's trying to get someone to vouch for him, someone who knew Arlen of Pennytree, so that he can enter the lists.
Sir Arlen, be respectful of the dead, please.
And so he tries Manfred. What is he's man?
Uh, Sir Manfred.
Sundarian. Sundarian. Manfred Sundarian will not vouch for him. Um, and so he, you know, kind of strikes out there. So he goes back to try to maybe convince the game master that to let him in anyway. And that's whenever he finds Baelor and Maekar Targaryen, who just kind of happened to be in there speaking with the game master at that time. And Baelor, of all people, remembers Sir Arlen, and he decides to let Duncan participate. He kind of vouches for him there. But he does tell him that he's going to need a new emblem for his shield because he's still carrying around Sir Arlen's shield. And because he's not a blood relative of Sir Arlen, he has to get a new emblem.
Yes, and the way, I know we're not talking about the show yet, but the way that this went down in the show is one of the biggest changes, I think, that I noticed.
Well, in the show, they kind of seemed like he was going for Baelor himself. Whereas
Yes.
in the book, he was going back for he's going to just go try to talk to the game master again, and he just happened to be in there.
Yeah, and he doesn't know who was in the room at this
Right,
time. So he's has kind of like an endearing moment where he finds out he's in the presence of the Hand of the King and the Heir to the Iron Throne. And it makes it really impactful when he uh, not only finds that out, and then he vouches for Sir Arlen.
Yeah. And
A
though
great introduction to Baylor.
earlier they had kind of introduced there was this sort of troupe of puppeteers that had been traveling through and they were kind of entertaining some of the crowd there. And Duncan is kind of taken with this, I guess, tall girl there
Tanzel too tall.
that is working there. And so
You're too tall for me.
he asked her to paint him the new logo or whatever emblem.
Yes, and it's brilliant. No notes. Maybe the best sigil in the Game of Thrones
Well,
universe.
we don't know that yet because she's not finished. Um, the before she
He
finishes,
asks her what to do, though.
okay.
Like he says to do the tree with the uh, sunset. Although I don't think he asked for the shooting star yet. I think he asks her to add that later
Oh, really?
after because the shooting
I
star
probably didn't
incident
get that.
hasn't happened yet.
It might have. I probably just didn't get that
Well, that's
specific. It's
huge.
not. I mean, it is in the show, but
No, it's huge. I mean, it's the root of why they have that symbol. It's the whole the luck is ours alone because they're the only ones sleeping without a tent under the stars. So they're the only ones that
well, do you
sleep
want to
under the
explain it
stars.
then?
Well, just, he got the elm tree because that's a big symbol for hedge knights in general. He likes to sleep under the trees. It's symbolic in a ton of ways. And then he did the sunset because Sir Arlen likes sunsets, and that's very sweet because this is very fresh grief that's happening. But then yeah, I think later he doesn't think of the shooting star yet, and then he asks her to add that because they had that moment. It reminds him of uh, his luck, and it's the silver lining of being a hedge knight.
Yeah. So Duncan and Aegon they watch the first day of the tourney, which is kind of happens at night in the show. It was surprising. Um, and it ends with that kind of like opening scrum, I guess, or however they line it up.
But
It ends with um, I guess four. Well, I guess it's five champions. So it's Leo Tyrell, Lionel Baratheon, Tybold Lannister, and Valar Targaryen.
just a bunch of nobodies, really.
They started as they were like the starting champions and they remained the champions after the initial scrum. The fifth one was Sir Humphrey, but he breaks his leg in battle against Aerion Targaryen. So
Yes.
Aerion takes his spot. So those are like the five champions after day one. And I guess that's just kind of how it works. It's almost like an Elite Four Pokemon style or something.
Yeah.
There's just five champions. So after the first day, Duncan is invited for a drink by Raymond Fossaway. I guess I didn't write too much about or really anything about the introduction to them, but there's like two Fossaways. There's Raymond and his cousin, right? It's kind of like beaten up.
Yeah. The much younger squire, and then the one that's a knight, and
Stefan is the knight and Raymond is the squire.
yes.
And so Duncan and Raymond kind of have a little bit of a bond. And they're gonna go have a drink. But and I think Stefan is even there for the drink, maybe. But their revelry, I suppose, is interrupted because Aegon rushes in. So he's like, I guess, missing from this scene, and he says that Aerion is abusing Tansel, the shield drawer painter.
Well, this is the first time, and we warned you about spoilers for the show. Uh, it's the first time you've mentioned that name.
Well, yeah. Well, no, it's not because he's one of the five champions.
Aegon?
Uh, oh, egg.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. Sure.
Uh, yeah, for show watchers that ignored our warnings. Egg is secretly Aegon Targaryen, the younger son of Aerion Brightflame, youngest son of Maekar, grandchild of King
He's not the son of
Aeron II.
Aeron's his brother.
Yeah, Aerion's the second son of, he's the younger brother of Aerion.
So Duncan goes back and he kind of sees this happening and he just knocks Arion's ass out, which is likely to earn him a torturous death, because he is in fact a Targaryen. But
He's at least gonna lose some limbs.
this is where it actually they reveal that Aegon is a Targaryen because he steps in and kind of saves him and
Mhm.
commands Arion's men to stand down. And they had Aegon had kind of gone missing, like they didn't really know where he was. It was supposed to be the drunk guy. I forget his name. It'll come in a second. Was supposed to be bringing him back or bringing him to the tourney, and he sort of got away from him.
Yeah, so that would have been Daron, the oldest brother. Um, and he's kind of a drunken disappointment, but also the one with like the Targaryen visions, whatever, this crew. Um, yeah, he was supposed to be bringing Egg with him to the tourney, and because he was drunk, he lost track of Egg, and Egg ran off with Dunk.
Yeah.
So they've both been missing because, Daron didn't want to fight in the tourney. He just wanted to go off and drink. And he figured Egg's probably fine.
So the next day, Duncan spins in the cell, and he is listening to the tourney going on, but he can't see actually what's happening. So Aegon visits him that evening with some food. He tells him that Baelor wants to see him whenever he finishes eating. And Baelor kind of warns him he's going to be tried for striking Arion, and the stakes are going to be high. And he wonders if maybe he ought to, or Duncan kind of wonders, well, maybe I ought to call for a trial by combat or something. Maybe that's his best hope of getting out of this. But before he can do that, Arion calls for a trial of 7, which is not in the main series certainly that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think we're getting one in Winds of Winter, but we
Oh,
haven't
that's
seen
never
one.
gonna happen. So it's a 7-on-7 trial by combat, which is horrible for Duncan because he has literally no allies whatsoever other than Aegon, who cannot compete.
It's holy because of the
The
seven
seven
gods.
gods, yeah. So this is my favorite part of I guess this story is just this process of him trying to go around and find.
6 people that'll fight
Yeah.
with him, going in with no friends except
hmm
Egg.
Right. And this is something that I'm hoping that the show will do well because they've kind of expanded on some of the characters that end up joining him, and hopefully will continue to expand on some of the others.
Yes.
So this is kind of the crux of why this story really works, I think. But immediately Stefan Fossaway, which is kind of the bully Fossaway, volunteers to help out Duncan, and so that's his number 2 right away.
Yes.
And so
But he's not, I feel like in the show he's a little bit more obviously like he is an ass, but he's also nicer to Dunk, I
that's
think,
true.
in the book. Real quick, going back to how they decided to do a trial by combat, I feel like it's Daron's idea, or I'm sorry, not Daron, Baelor's idea. He's like, how are you at fighting? And Dunk's like, well,
I think it's Aaron's idea to call a trial by 7.
trial by 7, yes.
Oh, it might. Yeah,
But I
it could
think
be Baylor's idea. Yeah.
Baelor is like, well, you could lose a limb or you could try to fight. And then it's kind of Aaron's way of like skewing it.
Yeah.
He's like, all right,
Well, he
well,
has unlimited
you're
allies.
kind of big one on one,
Mhm.
but how about I call in 7 of my Kingsguard buddies or whatever?
Yes. So Stefan heads out to find some more allies, and Raymond and Duncan are going to do the same. They're interrupted by Aegon and Daron, and they tell him that the Kingsguard and Maekar, which is Aeryn's father and also Aegon's
Step.
father, will be joining the Targaryen side in the trial. So they're already kind of getting an idea of who they're going to be up against. And the Kingsguard, of course, have like the best armor, well trained. Maekar is like an older Targaryen and everything. And so Duncan is just like, oh, great. He's just feels like he's completely screwed. It's kind of remind me a little bit of Jon Snow situation before he gets elected to lead the Night's Watch.
Yeah.
So he gets his shield from Pate.
And
Uh,
Raymond's helping him find people, but Raymond's not a knight, so he can't help.
right.
He's just a squire.
He's just a squire.
But he has some
Yes, right
more
now.
connections than Duck does.
Yeah. Um, so Duncan gets his new shield from Pate. It's all, kind of improved and also painted. And I
By
guess the
Kendall
rest.
Too Tall.
He had kept and upgraded for him after Tansel painted it. And so they're kind of like looking around for guys to help them. And I didn't get like super into the details of like how they convinced them all to join them. And also like they had kind of been foreshadowed. They sort of introduced a lot of characters over the course of the story, and you kind of recognize who these people are by the time that they join the fold.
Yes.
But before they even have any, or like they think they have 7 by the end. So they have Robin Reisling, Humphrey Beesbury, Humphrey Harding, Lionel Baratheon.
Which was a big deal, the Laughing Storm, when he steps up because he was, one of the 5 that had been in this tourney,
Yeah,
kicking
and
ass.
several of the others had like sort of distinguished themselves. The Humphreys had battled each other, and it was like really kind of an epic confrontation. And I think Robin is the one that's like really Robin Reisling's the one that's like really sort of headstrong and like didn't kept going even when he lost a helmet in like a previous for duel or something.
Right. And he was the first one to be recruited, I think because Egg knew him.
Okay.
Um, and of course, Stefan Fossaway is like, don't worry, I'll find you
Yeah.
people. And he hasn't been heard of
And
her
so they're
since.
they're also counting on Sam Fossaway. When they get back to him, he's like, actually, I'm the seventh man for the Targaryens.
Like right before they're about to start.
So Duncan is kind of screwed because like it's off if you don't have seven people.
Yeah. And I remember when this was happening, I was kind of keeping track of you, like keeping track for you, like who they were getting as each side was accumulating people. And I was like, how balanced do you think this looks? Because we've got Aaron Brightflame on Team Arion. Uh, Now Daron is on that team, but he's basically like, look, I'm a drunk. I don't want to fight. I
That's true.
am not
He's
really
on
on
he's
their
on Team
side.
Targaryen, but he's like
I got
he's
it.
planning
My
on just
daddy
like
says
taking a
so.
dive, basically.
Yeah. And then Makar, who's actually mad and a little, I think a little suspicious. Like, how did you end up with my son?
Yeah,
What's,
Maekar is he's ready to go full tilt for sure.
yeah. And then three members of the King's Guard,
Right.
Roland Craycall, Donald of Escondale, and William Wild,
And they
two of
probably
which are on the small council, I think.
okay. And
So
they don't
he
they're probably
builds.
not super like invested in this, but they're they're gonna do their job.
Sure, they're King's Guard members,
Mhm.
you know. And then Stefan Fossaway is like, haha,
Yeah, he
actually.
joins the what he thinks is gonna be the winning side.
So now Dunk only has five
Only
people.
has five people. Raymond like sort of volunteers, and does Dunk knight him? Somehow he gets like
No, I think Dunk doesn't knight him. I think the Laughing Storm, someone knights him.
someone knights him, so
They're just
he's
like,
eligible.
because Dunk kind of hesitates. He's like, knight me, I'm in. I fuck my fuck my cousin.
Hmm.
And this is the root of the green and red Fossaway split.
Yeah,
Because
the
in the
apples.
main books, you know, like you've got the red apples and the
Yeah, and
green
they are
apples.
Baratheon. They're part of the Baratheon crew, I think.
Yes.
So
Uh,
it probably is
the
Lionel.
Baratheons are their liege lord.
Yeah.
Which was really fun little bit of lore.
Yeah, that's cool.
Reading these after the main series because we knew the apples had bad blood. This is
Yes.
the root of the split.
And then the final big twist is that Baelor is going to join Duncan's side.
Yes, Dunk gives this big speech. About like, are there no true knights among you? And all these big wigs are sitting still, like, and it's not that they don't believe that Arion was an ass and about to hurt this innocent woman. They're just they're not going to go against the Targaryens.
Yep.
But it's a real badass moment for Baelor. It's like the second time he stepped up for Dunk, or really the third time. The first was when he vouched for Sir Artland. The second was when he um, was kind of really reasonable and was like, "How's your arm? Oh man, that's a bummer." Like he felt for him there. And then this is the big one where he steps up and is going to fight against his brother and the Kingsguard and all these other Targaryens because he thinks that Dunk's cause is just. Uh, Man, he might be my favorite in this story.
Yeah, so that it obviously it's all kind of built to this, so there's like a big charge where it's the seven versus the seven. And it gets pretty hectic because you're really only following Duncan's point of view at this point, and he pretty much immediately gets knocked off his horse and
Yeah.
goes down in the
He's
mud.
done this before?
So it's like very difficult to like really get a grasp of what's going on when it's all fighting. So that'll probably be, I mean, I wonder if they could do it that way in the show, I suppose, but or they could make it really epic and you see everybody.
Yeah. I mean, they have been pretty like only following Dunk and his point of view. They have not zoomed out to see anything that Dunk hasn't seen. Um, in the way that the books are written. Like single point of view, these three short stories, you just get what Dunk sees. And oftentimes things go over Dunk's head, which creates some interesting situations.
Yeah, so it's not looking too good for him because he gets knocked off his horse right away. But once they get down into the mud, that's kind of, I guess, Duncan's strong suit.
Yeah, he's definitely better at the brute force fighting than
And
the
so
highly
he
trained.
just beats Arian's ass and he drags him over to Lord Ashford, who's like presiding over this all this crap. And
Yeah.
he's like, gets him to yield publicly.
There's some moments where it's looking pretty hairy,
Mhm.
but who's it? Daron takes his dive, and there's I mean, we're going against Three Kings Guard, but what's his name? Prince Baelor Targaryen is like one of the biggest forces in the Seven Kingdoms. He's always been a very talented fighter.
Yeah.
What do they call him? It's either the hammer or the anvil.
I
I
don't
think it's the
remember.
hammer.
So after it's all kind of over is where we kind of see the results of what happened to everybody else. Humphrey Beesbury is killed in the first charge by Donald of Duskendale, one of the King's Guard. And then the other Sir Humphrey is wounded during the fighting,
Mortally wounded, let's
mortally
say.
wounded. And then Baelor Targaryen is also mortally wounded by his brother Maekar.
Well, that's a big reveal. So we think he's okay, but then he's like, I'm a little bit dizzy or something. Someone take off my helmet. And they take off his helmet. And you're in this big triumphant moment where you're like, oh my God, they won. This is amazing. Baylor, MVP. And then they take off his helmet and half his brains fall out.
Yeah. And so he and Humphrey Harding both die. So, yeah, three people die on Duncan's behalf, essentially.
Yes.
I think I didn't write it here, but I think Lionel Baratheon might be injured as well, but he's not. He doesn't die for sure.
No, yeah.
Um,
He was having a great time.
sure. Yeah, he typically is.
He was just there for the fight.
Mhm. So later on, Duncan is visited one on one by Maekar, and
This is a great
he
scene.
asks him to have Aegon on as his squire at Summerhall.
Well, we skipped over a lot there.
Okay, well,
So he's basically like, why the fuck did the gods keep you alive and kill Baelor? This, I mean, just incredible. Like everyone looks up to him. Everyone was like, man, when he's king, everything is just gonna be fantastic. Uh, it's just great for everything, and Dunk's just nobody. He's like, why did they side with you? And Dunk doesn't have a great answer for him. He's like, man, everyone's gonna think that I killed my brother on purpose because it was his Mance that killed his brother.
Mhm.
Um, but he didn't. I don't think he meant to. And in this moment, he seems very genuine. And he's like, the history is going to say that this was me moving up the pecking order. But, oof, that was disastrous. And it's not really that Maekar asks him. It's the Dunk says something about how, Arion. He's like, why would Egg really wants to be your squire? Why the fuck would I do that? And when I have like all these amazing people and all this great training, and Dunk is like, well, Arian had all that, and look how he turned out. Maybe he could try something different. Then that's enough for Maker to be like, well, yeah, I mean, he is a bad egg. Maybe, what the fuck? This is my, what, fourth son? Maybe I do need to try something different. So he lets Dunk take him, and Arion is exiled, um, and kind of becomes the bright flame branch of House Targaryen. I think the Bright Flames were initially going to be fill the Blackfire role, because they're mentioned books before Blackfires are. Um, and then George has this idea for all of the Blackfire offshoot stuff and kind of ditches the Bright Flames. But this is where Arion is exiled and goes to Essos and has a bunch of babies with a bunch of women.
Okay. But he doesn't agree to squire him at Summerhall. He's only going to take him if he can go out on the road.
Oh yeah, and that's what he says.
Maegard
to
actually
convince
doesn't say that he can do that, but then the next day Aegon shows up and then they head out for Dorne
Yeah,
to see if they can run into Ten Cell there.
that's right. So that's where Dunk's little speech got through to him. I butchered it, but it's really profound and well written. And it's a character that I didn't really feel much for up until this conversation, Maekar. But the fact that he's seems to be really genuinely grappling with the death of his brother and the way that this argument in particular sways him to letting Dunk take this princeling away just in rags and to sleep under hedges. It endears me to Makar. This very hard man.
So yeah, that's what the I think the all of the first season of the show is only going to be focused on that first
Yes.
short story. But there's two more short stories in the book, and I think the second one is my favorite one, which is called The Sworn Sword.
Yes. And this was written years later. I think this was written maybe around the same time he was writing A Feast for Crows, but I think it came out first. Whereas I think the Hedge Knight came out while he was writing A Clash of Kings. Like that one was written really early.
Okay. So it starts with Duncan and Aegon. They're actually kind of on their way. They're sort of like on the way to get paid, I think. Like they've kind of already done this, retrieved this wine.
Yes.
And
And we're flashing forward a couple years, I think. They just got back from Dorne. Um, it's definitely been a year or two. I think Dunk is maybe 18 or 19 now.
okay. And they just notice that this stream that they're crossing is gone dry.
And they're so fucking hot and thirsty,
Mhm.
and
And so
it's a drought.
he is like, all right, well, take this on to Lord Osgry, and he decides that he and another of Osgry's knights, who's like actually one of his knights, not a hedge knight, called Bennis the Brown, are gonna go investigate and figure out why this has happened because it is like a really hot summer, and this is kind of a problem for the Osgrees. So they go over to kind of their neighbors that live at this place. I think they call it the Cold Moat.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So they find that the men at the Cold Moat have dug a dam and basically cutting off their water.
Bastards.
Um,
Pull the Chucky water.
and yeah, so they stole the Chucky water. And this guy that is with Duncan is Dennis the Brown. He's much less honorable than Duncan is. Duncan does not like him very much.
He's a bit of an ass.
And he slashes one of these guys, just slashes him across the face.
Yeah, and these guys are just basically building the
Yeah,
dam.
these are not
they're
like
just
fighters.
workers.
Mhm.
And he's like, yeah, I mean, just a total ass about it.
And
And Dunk's
so-
like, hey, too far. What?
Yeah. They say they swear revenge about this slashing, and Duncan is not pleased with Venice's actions.
But he doesn't have any authority in this.
Right, he's just a hedge knight. So they go back to Sir Eustace Osgry, who's the kind of the guy in charge of the Osgreys, kind of old guy.
Yeah. And
And
that's a small little, um, like he's a lord, but he's a very minor lord.
Mhm. And so he commands Duncan to find any other able-bodied men in the town to fight back because he's like, oh boy,
All the
if
banners.
Venice has slashed that guy and they're gonna get revenge, then they're gonna be coming for us. So we better, we better round up who we can. It's almost
And
like
he's also really pissed about the dam.
it's very Night's also very Night's Watch, where it's like, okay, well, let's see what we can find, and it's just a sad lot of losers. And Duncan and Bennis, they kind of take a day to try to train him up. They're training him with like makeshift spears and stuff, and it's just such a disaster that Duncan has a nightmare that night of them all getting killed.
Yeah.
And he's like,
And it's not totally unrealistic.
and so he wakes up and he goes to Eustace. He's like, let's try diplomacy first. That is our only hope here.
Yeah.
With these losers that we have at our disposal, with this mysterious Lady Weber, and they call her like the widow or something.
Yeah, I think the Red Widow.
Yeah, they really built her. One of my favorite things is with storytelling is when they build up a character off screen, which they definitely do with her.
Yes.
They're like, oh, she's just horrible. She's killed all her husbands, and
Mm-hmm.
she's like very kind of they think she's maybe into witchcraft and stuff.
Hmm.
Very concerned about her. So Duncan is like, all right, well, I'll go see what I can do. So he he's very intimidated by these
Yeah.
stories he's heard, but he goes to Cold Moat with Aegon, just him and Egg.
And Egg's giving him advice on like how to do diplomacy, basically, because I
He's not
got
very
no
good at it.
experience with any of this.
And so then he goes up there to find her, and he finally sees her, and she's young and hot.
Yeah, well, first he mistakes her, I don't know, sister or sister-in-law, somewhat. I think sister-in-law as her. This kind of older lady, and
That's very, once again, very Jon Snow, where he is meeting the the king of the wildlings, and mistakes who it is.
yeah, Mince Raider. Um, yeah, it turns out it's this very young woman, that's beautiful redhead.
Hmm.
Um, and what is she, like 17 or something?
No, I think she's like in her mid-20s.
Mid-20s. Okay. Well, very young to have had so many husbands
Right,
that have all died.
right.
But she's certainly nothing like he pictured.
No.
This old hag that's killed husbands and done witchcraft.
Yeah, and so she's very funny and, kind of, I don't know, not backing down from him.
And Doug gets very flustered. He doesn't know how to talk to pretty girls.
No.
And
And so ultimately he fails to get her to back down from basically what she's wanting is they're like, well, if we could just get revenge on Bennis, just Bennis, then we're good.
Mhm.
And
And there's this great moment because Egg's, he does know that she's a female, and Egg has given him advice on the way here of like,
to
well,
compliment something about her.
yes, I'm really like flattery. And so he like has all these versions in his head, and she runs them by Egg, and they're all terrible, but they land on your eyes look your gown really brings out the color of your eyes,
Mhm.
which seems like a safe bet. And so
And she's not wearing a
he
gown.
says it, she's not wearing a gown, and then it's just she's super quick on her feet, and
Mhm.
he is not, and just ties himself in a
Yep.
anyway.
So he, fails in his negotiations, and she asks for revenge on Venice, and she's not really moving on the dam either. And so it's just a failure. So he returns to Eustace, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, pal, it didn't work out."
Yeah. And
And
has he found out at this point that it's like not really the Chucky water isn't really his
no,
anymore? Okay.
well, I think this is where he tells him. So he's drunk. Eustace is drunk, Osprey, and he kind of regales Duncan and Aegon about why he chose the Blackfires in the rebellion, which is the rebels against the Targaryens, and um, they lost, and
Yeah.
so anybody that was loyal to the Blackfires kind of got a bad deal.
Yeah. I think the Red Widow does say whether they're like, I got some paperwork
Yeah, maybe
that's
she
not
does.
their water anymore. And he's like so he runs it by him, and that's when he's drunk and he's
Yeah, and his reasons for joining the Blackfire. He's drunkenly kind of going through why he made that decision, and it's like not sound reasoning. It's like, well, the Blackfire guy looked a lot cooler. He was a true fighter.
he felt like what a leader should be.
Yeah, he knew how to swing a sword. He's like, oh
And
boy.
but it is a case of like, and if they had won, then the other side would have lost their land, and the
Yeah.
other side would have been seen as the traitors, and uh but they didn't. And of course, Egg has very strong feelings
Well,
about
yeah.
this
So
because he
Aegon is obviously Targaryen, so he's asking him follow-up questions, and he's like, well, what do you think? What about this? What about this? And then,
not obviously not revealing
yeah,
that
yeah.
he
But
is.
then Aegon like insults Maekar, probably calls him a murderer or something. But it's
Aegon doesn't. The
no, yeah, I'm talking about Osprey.
Osgry insults Maekar,
And then
his
he
aunt's dad.
threatens to beat Aegon, and Duncan's like, "All right, I'm leaving your service."
Yeah,
So that's
and Dunk feels a little betrayed too
yeah, yeah, for sure.
because
Because
he
now
didn't know he
he's on this
was.
losing side that is like doomed from the start.
Mhm. And he also didn't know he was supporting a Blackfire
Hmm.
supporter
Right.
because they're just people.
And they kind of live in the woods. It's called Wattswood.
Hmm.
And that night they like through the windows they see that Weber's people are burning the woods. So it's they kind of know they're in for it the next day.
They assume that Weber's people are buried in the woods. What they see is the woods are on fire.
Yes.
I, it's they never admit to burning the woods. I think it could just be a wildfire because there's been a huge drought. Um, I, I don't know. I don't know if there's a fan consensus on what happened here, but I kind of lean towards just a natural disaster at a bad time.
Well,
Or maybe just one instigator. I don't think the Red Widow sent people to burn the woods.
okay. And then he has kind of this somewhat sultry dream of her
Yeah.
But she's so because he's like infatuated with her, but she still kills him in the dream. So it's like, oh boy, it's not good.
Yeah. But he thinks about like, "Oh, I've never kissed a girl except that one in Dorne." Um, and they think back on their time in Dorne and how he was, they went to Dorne looking for Tanzal Too Tall, who left after all the hubbub with Arion.
Yeah.
And they didn't find her, I don't think. But
Okay. So the next morning he has breakfast. He's still like in the castle, but he's not in his service anymore, so he's getting ready to leave. But he can't bring himself to leave without scaring off all the men he had assembled because he's like, well, they're just gonna get themselves killed against these like actual soldiers.
yeah.
So he's like, just run for it. Don't
Hmm.
don't take part of this.
And that other guy's pissed. What is his name? Brown something?
Yeah. So they decide to ride out and meet Weber and her forces at the river, kind of like where the battle is supposed to be.
Hmm.
And so Duncan and Lady Rohan, that's her name.
Yeah.
They kind of go out into the river and they talk about their options. And Duncan is like, he just lies and says, "Well, actually, I'm the guy that cut that guy,"
Hmm.
and then he cuts his own face as a payment. Um, and so he's kind of hoping that that'll work things out. But she kind of accepts that, but even though I think she knows that he's lying, but where they can't come to an agreement is about the burning of the wood,
Hmm.
or damming up the river.
Yeah. And she emphatically denies the burning of the wood, and they he really wants the dam to come down, and
Hmm.
she just won't budge on that because she's like, "It's my water. They gave me the land because you were a traitor. Sorry."
Yeah, and so she demands a trial by combat to see the truth of it.
Yes.
And so Duncan is gonna represent Eustace, and her representative is gonna be this guy they call the Longinch, who has been introduced prior to this. And he's kind of this guy that's in her service that nobody really likes very much. She certainly doesn't like him. Duncan really doesn't like him. And he's sort of this guy that worked for her father and um, has sort of set himself up to where he is going to be her next husband if
She
she
feels
doesn't
very entitled to that. And
if she
she's like,
doesn't find another husband.
I think there's even a contract or something where she loses her
I believe
inheritance
that
if she
she.
doesn't
Oh yeah,
find
right,
another marriage by the end of
right.
whatever time. And he's like, if I do this for you, like I definitely get your hand.
Yeah. And I think he can also see that, she's kind of interested in Duncan also.
She is.
And so he's like really looking forward to beating the crap out of Duncan here, killing
Yeah.
him essentially.
Yeah.
And Duncan does take some hits in this combat. It's another one where it kind of goes into a blur during the combat itself. Um, but he does kill him, doesn't he? Doesn't Duncan kill this guy?
Yeah, I think he
They fight in the stream.
yeah, I think he hits his head with a rock and he maybe drowns
Yeah,
or
I think he
something.
does die by drowning.
Uh
Um,
yeah, he kind of goes into this fight or flight
right, because
fury.
he's definitely losing in the beginning, and
Yeah.
he's like kind of all delirious, and then yeah, I think you're right. I think he like bashes his head in or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, so he kind of passes out immediately after it's over because he just like kind of barely scraped by, and so he wakes up and he's in Cold Moat, in the hands of Rohan's Maester, who he had kind of met earlier, and he kind of like fat and sort of funny.
Yeah, and kind of kindly.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Um,
We
and
love maesters in this
And
house.
he like is like, oh well, you've got some catching up to do because not only have Rohan and Eustace reconciled, but they have got married while you were out cold.
Which
And
is
Duncan is
such
like,
a
what?
great I know, because you would never see it coming because she's this young lady and he's old, but it's
Mhm.
set up so perfectly of he wants that land back, he wants his check of water back, and the people need it. You see the implications not having that water has on the farming,
Mhm.
but he doesn't have a legal right to it,
Right.
and she really needs a husband in order to keep her land
Yeah.
and not have to marry this asshole, and so they kind of bond over this experience and end
Well,
up
there's
getting
also like
married.
this whole subtext where she was kind of in love with one of his sons,
Oh yeah,
and
and
then he died in the war, right?
uh yes. And so she's mad that he died fighting for
the
this
Blackfires.
cause, and yeah,
And he's mad at her because,
that's right. And he has Dunk say something to her about like, remember
yeah, she
my
gets real
son's
pissed
name?
off.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because she does remember him.
yeah. And she's like, he died because of you, for your cause, because you thought this other guy looked like a better leader or whatever.
Right.
But then they kind of bond over having loved his son. It's kind of weird, but and obviously like she's not super attracted to this old man, but it is like kind of an elegant solution
Yes.
to both of their problems.
Right.
But of course, it's a little bit disappointing for
For
Duncan.
Duncan, yeah. And so a few days later, he's getting ready to leave, and he kind of has this last rendezvous with her in the stables. And she offers him like this really nice horse to remember her by, but instead he kisses her and he cuts off some of her hair. He's like,
Yeah,
I'll take this.
he takes her red braid
Hmm.
to remember her by,
Yeah.
which he's been thinking about a lot throughout the story.
Hmm.
And I would have taken the horse, but whatever.
Yeah. So that's how it ends.
Yeah, that's so you think that one is better than the first one?
Yeah, that's my favorite one. Yeah. I think the third one's probably the worst.
I definitely got more excited talking about that one than the first.
Well, it has kind of some twists and turns, and I mean the first one is cool. I like the first one. It definitely first one maybe has like the it definitely has the better like showdown and like the fight scene. I'm sure in the show is going to be a lot better. Um, like the all that like the kind of the climax is better in the first one. But the second one, I just all of the actual build up in the story I thought was better. I think Brohan's a really good character. I think Osgry's a good character. I think Benison Brown is a good character.
You learn a lot about the first Blackfire Rebellion.
Yeah, and there,
Or I
it's
think,
kind of, it's a kind of a twist that it really isn't his water.
yeah.
And yeah, I really like how they build her up before you actually get to see her.
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to seeing how they do her in the show. Um,
Hmm.
but so anyway, I that was it was my favorite one.
Yeah. And I think it gets into a lot of the themes that George R. R. Martin likes to talk about, and the way that we see the aftermath of this war, that continues to pop up. Like these Blackfire rebellions continue to happen up until I think Sir Barristan this fights in the last one.
Mm.
That's part of how he gets his renown. Um, so to see the first one and the people that actually chose sides, uh, and you start to hear a little bit about the the people that fought in that. So you hear about Blood Raven a little bit, more or less for the first time. You hear about um, the, I don't know, some of those bastard brothers, and but not as much as you hear about them in this
Yeah,
next
and that's
one.
part of the reason I like the second one is because yeah, he kind of relates it back to that stuff, but it's really a very it's by far of the three, it's the most condensed. There's the fewest characters in this one, and
It's very grounded
they've
in
had
the
more time to. It's a
effects on the common people.
reminds me a little bit of
Lords.
like a Witcher sides or one of the Witcher stories, except it's
Yeah.
longer. So I just think that he did it very well. These ones where he starts like trying to make it a grand, sort of have all these more people in it and a grander part of what's going on, and almost just like another Game of Thrones book. That's where I think it gets a little clunky, and that's definitely what happens in the third one.
Yeah, strap in for this next one because there was definitely, I think the first two times I listened to this one, there was stuff I didn't pick up on. I had to like watch some videos, and I think I would have gotten more if I'd read it myself. Um, you just don't absorb as much listening to something, and I just didn't own this book yet, and I was excited about it. But yeah, we're gonna get into more of the Blackfire politics stuff, and in a way, you get a little bit bogged down in it. There's some really cool characters in this one. Maybe some of my favorite or the biggest characters you get in these stories, other than Duncan Egg. But
I wouldn't put a single one of these characters above Rowan.
well, yeah, she's good.
But this one's called the Mystery Knight. So Duncan and Aegon are riding away from this town. It kind of is where it starts, and they see this guy that's had his head impaled. It's this treasonous Septon who had been speaking out against this Blood Raven. And so it's kind of setting stuff up there. So on the road, they meet a large host, and it's led by a bunch of people that we don't know.
Agree.
They're are they technically hedge knights?
Uh, two of them claim to be, and
Okay.
then one of them's.
So it's Alan Cockshaw, John the Fiddler, and Gorman Peak. And two of them are rude to Duncan, but the Fiddler is courteous to him. It's a
Yes,
fellow hedge
he's
knight.
laughing and amused by Dunk, and
So what they're doing is
he's like, "Old man, you're being too harsh."
they're kind of on their way toward this wedding that is going to be with Lord Ambrose Butterwell is marrying one of the Frey daughters. It's a Frey wedding. You
Yes,
better watch out.
we
But
didn't forget her
he
name.
was definitely, kind of trying to echo the Red Wedding here, obviously. Trying to hype you up. Be like, oh, it's a Frey wedding. Watch out. And so Duncan's like, oh, okay, well,
Weddings are a good time.
there's a joust. There's gonna be a joust there. He's like, well, maybe I ought to go up there and you know see about uh, seeing if I can win something. So they kind of arrive at this inn by a river, but the inn is full up because of people traveling to this wedding. And so
And
they
Benwell's like not like a huge house, but they have a lot of money from milk and
yeah
cow produce, and so they've got, enough money to where people want to go to this wedding, and it's going to be a big ordeal.
yeah. So long story short, they go to the wedding, and but they won't let Aegon in because he's just a squire, a stable boy.
Well, hold on.
What?
We're skipping over meeting three very crucial characters. There's no room at the inn, so he spends the night at the fire of these three hedge knights, let's say.
They're different from the other three, right?
Yes.
Okay. And who are they then?
Not as fresh. Do
All
you
right.
have my character sheet pulled up?
Well,
I typed out a character guide
Well,
that wouldn't spoil anything past where you got to when you read it for Andrew because I had such a hard time keeping track of these characters.
I would
And I
argue
think
it's poor writing on. This is probably some of the worst writing in George's repertoire.
Ooh.
Because like when they get to the wedding feast,
Well, hold on.
there's like this massive list of people that he's just listing off for like absolutely no reason at all.
Just vibes of like, look at these knights or whatever. But the three that he meets at the fire are Maynard Plum. What's the cat? Uh,
Yeah, some cat guy.
yeah. Uh, and then the one that turns out to be the son of the a fireball,
Okay. So
who was a big war figure but fought on the side of the Blackfires.
sure. So Aegon can't get into the wedding feast, and so he has to kind of dine out there with the squires and stuff and the
Is it
stable
Quentin
people.
Ball? Is that his name? Something Ball.
Um,
Sorry, guys. I'm rusty.
and so Duncan is in the feast, and it's kind of like a big scene. He somehow ends up carrying the bride to the bedchamber as part of the bedding ceremony, and
Yeah. Well, he meets the snail. He meets Uther Underleaf, and he's sitting with the cat and um, some other guys. And yeah, he's getting drunk, real drunk.
yeah. And he ends up, up in the bedchamber kind of,
Hmm.
and he sees this dragon egg, which is going to be the reward for the joust or
The
whatever.
winner of the.
And he picks it up and he's like, "Hey, take a look at this." And like, the Lord's men are like all pissed off that he touched it or whatever.
Mhm.
And so he kind of gets out of there. It's a little too much going on for his liking, and he goes up to the castle roof, and that's where he finds the fiddler.
Well, he goes to take a piss, I believe.
Well, whatever. And this fiddler is one of the knights that he's met, and he's like, I'd make you a knight of the King's Guard, or a lord, or whatever. But he's like, but I've got to be the one that wins that egg because I dreamed that it would hatch.
Yes, my dreams always come true.
Hmm.
And he might even say, like, I dreamed of you. And he makes some allusions to, I'd love to joust you and cross swords. And there's a lot of stuff here that Dunk is completely oblivious to.
Hmm.
And he probably still would be if sober. And as a reader, I didn't pick up on. But the fiddler is interested in fiddling with Dunk for sure.
So Duncan goes back to his tent. He finds out that Aegon has gotten in a fight with one of the other squires who was bad mouthing his father.
The older guy comes out and he's like, "What are you, Fiddler? You need to go to your room. You're too drunk. Uh, don't, stop sticking your nose in things. Go away."
Okay.
But lots of things are very suspicious.
But the big thing that happens during the joust day, for as far as Duncan is concerned, is he is just absolutely annihilated by Uthor Underleaf in the first tilt.
Yes.
Just absolutely knocks his ass out for hours.
Yeah. Hit in
But
the head. And so now, even when he's sober, everything is fuzzy for him for the rest of the
yeah,
story.
he's definitely concussed. So he wakes up 4 hours later, being tended to by the Maester, and the Maester's like, "You're lucky to be alive, pal."
And he's, you know, lost his
Right.
horse
So
and
when
his
you
armor.
lose, you have to like, yeah, go give your horse and armor to the victor.
He does not have the money for to ransom it back.
Yeah, and so he reunites with Aegon, and Aegon's happy that he's okay. But yeah, he's got to go to Uthor, and he offers him his arms, his horse, and armor as he used to have to do. And Uthor is like, uh, you could be my fall guy, travel around with me to other tourneys, and if you do, I'll give you a small portion of the winnings. Because Duncan looks very impressive, even though he's
Hmm.
not very good at this. And Duncan refuses that offer.
Uh,
Um,
and he starts to find out like, oh, some of this stuff is rigged.
mhm.
Darno that kind of has ins with the game master. But before this, I think on the way, he runs into Maynard Plum, who tells him like, "Buddy, just I think you should just take your horse and run. Like, get out of here. This place is a mess."
Hmm.
And he's like, "No, I have to do the honorable thing. I have to go give up my stuff." Maynard's like, "Huh, this guy."
Maybe you're right. But Uthor's like, yeah, okay, whatever. But then he tells him, he's like, by the way, I was paid to kill you.
Yeah. And he's like, "You're lucky I kind of like you." Because
Yeah,
I could have gotten the
he's
eye.
like, I definitely could have. He's like, I decided to
They didn't pay me enough.
hit you in the head. But yeah, it wasn't enough for an execution, so I just knocked you out.
Mhm.
And Duncan is kind of surprised by this. He's like, Jesus, who would pay to have me killed?
Mhm.
He's just a nobody. So he gets out of the tent. He's can't find Aegon. And so he's kind of concerned about that. And he has this chat with Glendon Ball. Is that one of the people, the three?
Glendon Ball, yes, this is Fireball's son, and he's been mocked.
Yeah, he keeps everybody's making fun of him because of his heritage, I guess.
Yeah, well, because he is likely actually Fireball's son, but his mom was a sex worker, and so he
Oh,
was raised in, yes, he was raised in a brothel, and um, his knighthood kind of came from selling his sister's virginity, in exchange for him being knighted, and so they call him, is it like the Penny House Knight or something? I don't know. The name of the
he's
brothel.
widely mocked. Even like the commentators like mocking him when he's making his entrance and stuff. However,
He's doing great.
yeah, he's actually kicking ass. And he kind of tells him that actually Gorman Peak made me an offer to join his service if I'd lose to the Fiddler. And he's like, I told him no as well.
Mhm.
So they kind of have a bonding moment here where they were like, oh well,
Yeah.
each people they kind of respect each other.
And Peak was the guy that told Dunk to get out of there when he was drunk the other night, and was the old man that the fiddler told to chill out, when they first met at the very beginning. Names
So
are coming back to me.
so then Duncan visits the Fiddler, who has always been very congenial with Duncan, and he's about to joust this guy Galtry the Green,
He doesn't
and
matter.
doesn't matter at all. But Duncan is talking with him, and during the conversation, Duncan is like, "I don't think this guy is who he says he is."
Yeah, which you may have already picked up on.
Yeah, and then after he has a kind of talks with Gorman Peak, like while he goes off to do the tilt, he like it's Gorman Peak is there, and he's like, "What's going on here?" or whatever, and basically Gorman Peak just like uh, sort of lets it slip, like, yeah, he was a Blackfire rebel.
Yeah. And before this, we kind of skipped, but Egg had said something like, "There's a lot of Blackfire names here, or a lot of names of people that were Blackfire supporters here." And Dunk's like, "You know nothing, Eggs. Shut up. Stop bringing up this nonsense." And Egg got in a fight over uh, some bad words about his family.
Right,
I
which I
think,
said.
well, I thought we said that in the last
No, it
one.
was in this one.
Okay, well, after that, that's when the conversation happened, where Eggs definitely picked up on a lot of Blackfire loyalty stuff here and dunked it Ida, and now it's in his face.
Well, now he's like figured it out, and so this is kind of like one of those sort of contrived situations where it's like Gorman Peak is like, yeah, now it's our time to strike against the Targaryens and everything, and he's like, why are you telling me all this? He's like, well, you're not gonna live to tell about this conversation, so it's fine. And Duncan also like kind of is horrified to realize like, wow, I just
I thought he didn't kill him because the Fiddler would be mad, because the Fiddler is taken to him.
well, maybe that's true, but
Because
he's
he
like,
dreamed.
well, regardless, he's like not allowed. He's not gonna, he can't leave.
Yes.
And Duncan's like, kind of puts it all together. He's like, Jesus Christ, he's delivered Aegon to them, so they have him as a hostage.
Yeah. And he still doesn't know where Egg is.
Right. And so, meanwhile, during the tourney, the Fiddler defeats this Galter guy. Um, but before the next tilt can begin, there's this big announcement from Gorman Peak, who says that the Dragon's Egg, which is supposed to go to the winner, has been stolen by Glendon Ball of all people.
Oh my goodness.
And the mass is like, Glennon's just standing there. He's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And
Yeah.
then like everybody kind of like attacks him.
And turns out it's in his bag.
And while this is all going on, Alan Cockshaw leads Duncan to this well, and his plan is to like throw Duncan down the well. But he didn't really think that over too good because Duncan is giant.
Backing up, because Cockshaw is one of the names I definitely forgot. But
I think I mentioned him.
he was with the Fiddler and Gorman Peak at the very beginning, and then um this isn't explicitly said, but he's the Fiddler's lover. And so he's felt very threatened by Dunk,
Okay.
who the Fiddler is obviously very into. Um, so he has personal motives for this. This is not really Gorman Peak's doing. This is his own thing of like, why does he love you? Not me. But Duck doesn't pick up on any of this.
Well, anyway, Cockshaw goes down the well, and he does wound Duncan slightly because he's got the stagger. Um, and so
Yeah, Duck is unarmed because he has given up his
yeah,
arms.
Maynard Plum shows up and kind of cleans the dagger wound up for Duncan. And Duncan kind of forces him to tell him where Aegon is, which is, he says, is at the Sept.
Well, Duck's like, what should we do? Like he's down there. And he's like, let him.
Yeah, he's like, it's fine.
That's what he meant to do to you.
He's done for.
Yeah. And this is where you see uh Dunk has kind of a hard time seeing his face at first. Like he just sees a big white, what he thinks is an eye, and then it's like, oh, it's his moonstone pendant, glowing in the moonlight. And his face was blurry, but now I see it's Maynard Plum, um, which all reads very similarly to people later in the books that are glamored.
Hmm.
And so that's a huge hint that something's going on with Maynard Plum there. And that is the last we see of Mr. Plum.
Yeah, so Duncan gets his arms back from Uthor's tent. I don't even think Uthor's in there. He's just like, well, I'm taking this shit back because I gotta go get Aegon. And
Yeah.
he makes his way to the Sept, where he finds Lord Butterwell cowering in Aegon's presence. Aegon has like turned the tables on this Butterwell.
Yeah.
He's like, well, my father's on the way here with an army, and he's not gonna be too pleased that you have, taken me hostage and
We were here to spy on you. We
Yeah.
knew exactly what was happening.
yeah. And so
Just full of it.
the Butterwell's totally convinced. He's like, well, fuck Gorman Peak. The
Yeah.
Targaryens are on their way.
He did not have strong conviction. He had his son in both sides of the Blackfire
Yeah.
rebellion, so he could kind of win either way.
Yeah. So he's like, I surrender.
Yeah.
And then, but his good son, Black Tom, is not having it. So he comes in and is kind of threatening Aegon.
And he's one of the more formidable fighters from the list.
Yeah, or
He's
so
very
we're told.
intimidating.
Well, Duncan kills his ass. That's that.
Right.
He just
Yeah.
he just whoops him. It's like not like that. Unlike the fights he's had previously, he just destroys this guy.
Yeah, he goes into like Mama Bear mode,
Yeah.
protecting Egg in a way that we've never really seen.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And so Duncan sends Aegon off with Lord Butterwell, but he's like, you really need to leave this place.
Yeah.
and go to Maiden. He says that he should go to Maiden Pool. I
Mhm.
can't remember why that is, but that's where he thinks it would be a safer location for him.
Mhm.
So then Duncan goes into the feast. He's like, well, kind of understands what's going on here. So he goes into the feast that they're still having, and he speaks to Damon.
Yes. Let me check my family tree real quick, but I believe this is Damon the second uh Blackfire. So the first Blackfire rebel, the one that in the last story the old man looked up to and was like, this should be our king, that started it all, was Damon Blackfire. So this is Damon Blackfire's third son, but
He's the
is the
guy,
one named after
but
him.
this is the fiddler.
This is the fiddler.
Yeah. So
And
it's
he is
revealed to be
embraced, yes.
it's revealed to be this Damon Blackfire. And so he Duncan's like, well, Gorman Peak has been there's been some treachery going on here. He's been trying to finagle stuff behind your back, and this Ball is innocent of what he's been accused of and everything.
Hmm.
And he's like, well, I'll meet Ball on the list and we'll see who's right.
Yeah.
And
Basically,
and,
let the
and
gods decide.
yeah, but unfortunately, Ball been severely injured because
He's been
he's been
tortured.
mobbed and everything, and so Duncan and some of the other Hedge Knights kind of help fix him up as best they can.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's missing some fingernails for sure.
Yeah. So, and they're like this is probably it because this is unlike the tourney. This is like supposed to be to the death. This
Yes.
still so uh, Damon is going to be coming at him with a actual lance, not a tourney
Hmm.
lance, and Duncan is like.
And also, a part of why Damon is doing this is because he's been told at this point that the tourney has been rigged in his favor. And so he's not actually as talented as he thought he was. And
Mhm.
that messes with his ego.
Right.
And the reason that Quentin has been framed is because he didn't take the bribe and he, was going to actually beat him. And so he wants to prove to himself, no, I could actually beat this guy. I don't need all this help and finagling. Um, and Quentin's like, even in his state, I keep calling him Quentin. I don't think that's right. It's Glendon.
Yeah.
Glendon Ball is like, whatever, I can take him. Even in
Right.
the state.
But Duncan is like, you're really not gonna take him, and he's like, use a tourney lance instead of a real one
This
because
is
they're
what we
long.
used in my famous trial by seven.
He's like, they're longer. You'll have the reach as long as your aim is true. You'll knock him off his horse, and he won't even touch you.
Hmm.
And he's like, well, all right.
If you say so.
Yeah, and it's correct. He knocks Ball easily off his horse.
And seeing, or Ball knocks the fiddler,
Yeah,
the
like Damon.
Blackfire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And seeing him knocked off his horse in the mud by this man that's been tortured just kind of kills the resolve of a
Mm.
lot of the
And
remaining
but
people.
what also sort of hurts that resolve is right when that happens, some armies actually do show up, led by Bloodraven, and they actually do surround the castle.
Yeah. And
Which this is another example of them building up a character off screen. This Bloodraven.
yeah, the whole time we've been hearing like
Well, at the
Bloodraven
beginning,
has,
they've like this guy's been beheaded for speaking out against Bloodraven.
yeah, but people say all the time
It's like,
like
so you
he
don't
has a
fuck.
thousand eyes in one.
Yeah,
Like he has eyes everywhere. It's you can't do anything without him finding out. And
yeah.
now they're like, oh my God, we went behind his back and he did find out and he's here with an army.
Yeah. So Aegon was just bluffing whenever he said the army was on his way, but then they actually did show up.
Yes.
Um,
How did they know?
uh-huh. And so they, they're summoned. Duncan and Aegon are summoned by Bloodraven.
Yes.
And so they go to meet him.
Then oh
And
boy,
on the
a
way
man
out
that's been built up.
on the way to their meeting, they see Gorman Peak's head on a spike outside the castle. So it's like, okay, well, so much for that
Yeah.
rebellion. And Bloodraven is like talking to Butterwell when they walk up, and he's like, "I will rip down this castle and salt the earth so nobody remembers it." But
We
you,
won't be having like a shrine to...
yeah, he's like, "But you can keep your wife, hey, dear Frey wife."
Mhm.
And but yeah, I mean, I guess Butterwell, he's like, "I'll take that deal."
Thank you, thank you, thank you for
Yeah.
telling me.
And so he doesn't really have a whole lot to say to Duncan and Aegon. He's like, "You guys can continue to travel together."
Well, he says, I'm not going to kill Damon because then whoever's next in line is
Sure.
going to jump up and do another one. I'm going to keep this one alive and pathetic in the cell, and then they can't claim they're the heir because this guy's the heir. He's just imprisoned.
Right.
Um, So, which is actually pretty clever.
He gives Duncan some money to pay off Uther Underly so he doesn't have to give up his arms.
Yes. And Dunk vouches, he's like, please don't uh hurt Glyndon or Maynard Plunt, like he vouches for his buddies or whatever, even though Plum's out of there. And I'll just go ahead and say now what I believe in the
You
prevent
believe
camp
that he is
theory.
Plum.
Yes, I believe that Maynard Plum was Blood Raven the whole time. He says he's like, well, yeah, I'm a plum, but I'm from a branch of sour grapes. Like the main plum, probably would deny knowing me, and you have this glimmer moment. And how did they know that all this treachery was happening? Um, it's a big theory that the reason that Bloodraven knows all these things is
Because he can
because
travel around with a different face, basically.
yes, there's also theories that he's wargs, ravens, and such, and there's more about this character that Andrew doesn't know that I will kill you if you spoil for him.
Well,
Um,
they've kind of talked about the past too. Like he kind of defeat the previous Wildfires that rebelled in combat. There's a big battle.
yes, yes. Um, so they squashed this one before it became a full war. Um, and I think it's pretty epic.
Yeah,
Me
it's a good ending.
personally.
It's like most of this story was, I do think it's the worst one, but the ending is pretty good.
This one is definitely most improved on reread, and you've only read it once. So once you actually know, like, it was kind of boring to you the first time because you didn't know all the stuff behind the scenes.
It's a story that will probably work better as a show.
Mm, yeah, I can see that. And I think, really, when you watch it as a show, you'll know all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. You'll know all that stuff that Doug wasn't picking up on that you didn't see through his eyes, or that I didn't pick up on the
You'll be
first
able to
two
see the
hearings.
faces of the characters.
Yes, which will help keep track of them a lot. I remember I was like, we took a kind of a break in the middle of reading this
Yeah, we
one,
did.
and I was like quizzing you on characters
Mhm.
because I was like,
Which was nice.
Maynard Plum is going to mean nothing to you if I don't drill this name into you.
Yeah,
The
and you
fiddler
did.
versus the cat or whatever.
I don't remember now, but I was able to ace the test before we got back to the reading it.
Yes. So the ending hit for you, at least.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I think the ending is still good. Overall, I enjoyed the book a lot. Just, all three of the short stories put together.
Oh, and there's a couple reveals at the end here that we should talk about before we move on to your overall thoughts.
Okay.
Who stole the egg? Um, it was the dwarves that had gone
Oh,
up
yes.
with Dunk to the bed chamber.
Yeah, I didn't even really bother writing about the dwarves, but there were some dwarves there.
Yes, and they had Dunk passes them at one point and is like, "Wow, they smell like shit." And it's because they did. They had gone through the poop shaft or whatever
To
and
get up
escaped
there.
with Egg.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, Black Blood Raven had put that together. And so that was a fun little reveal. The one that they had given Ball was a fake. So they were responding to the very real fact that the dragon egg was missing. Um, and the dreams of, because he was like, I dreamt that a dragon would hatch on this day, and uh, that was Egg, because this is where he kind of has to embrace his identity as a Targaryen and come out and own it. He used his boot, which was his secret proof that he's a Targaryen, and
Mm.
it's one of those prophecy is symbolic, and you can't really understand what these dreams actually mean until hindsight.
Yeah.
And he really fucked himself with it, thinking it was all about him.
Yep.
It's not the first, he won't be the last.
Hmm. So that's what he's written so far. He says he's going to write more short stories, but I don't believe that for a second.
Well, he said in the Hollywood Reporter interview that came out last month.
Oh, where he said that he didn't have.
You read it. I don't want you to say a fucking word about it and what people take out of context. What he did say was that he
Not the
worked
movie.
on the next two um this year or this
Oh,
past
my Lord,
year.
what a waste of time.
Which he previously said he wouldn't do until The Winds of Winter was done.
Mhm.
What Andrew's referring to is that he said sometimes he's not in the mood to write Winds of Winter. He would rather write about Duncan Egg. And I think that that's a good, if that's where his creative juices are flowing and he needs to get that out of his system. Fine, these are good too. It's not my preference, but
They are good too.
I understand that if he's fixated on these characters, it might be hard to write about these other characters. And whatever gets him writing.
Maybe he shouldn't have written all about all these characters and he should have just finished what he started.
It, well, he started Duncan Egg's short story like after the first book.
Which clearly was a mistake.
I don't know. It's your favorite point of view character.
My favorite point of view character, I still think that overall, of course, um, A Game of Thrones and A Storm of Swords are better books, but I actually do think I would put A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms above A Clash of Kings.
Interesting.
I've always thought, even going back to Game of Thrones, like the show, I always thought season two was kind of dragged a little.
Hmm.
It's my least favorite part of the story, other than, some of the stuff at the end of the show that obviously probably wouldn't happen in the book anyway. Not that we're gonna get it, but
Andrew.
it's like, there's some stuff in season 7 and 8 where I would put below season 2, but in terms of like the first 6 seasons that are everybody kind of agrees are great, I think
Nah, incorrect.
I think it's the weakest of those.
I love that you just said that. He's new, guys. He hasn't read it all.
Anybody with a brain knows that seasons 1 through 6 are awesome.
That is a controversial statement.
It's really not.
Especially season 5. Everybody thinks season 5 is great, is what you just said.
Season 5 is great.
He
There's like one.
doesn't speak for me.
There's like one kind of questionable episode in season 5.
Just one questionable episode, he says.
The stuff that they do in Dorne in season 5 is very bad.
That's an understatement.
The stuff that they do with Sansa is probably not as good as what happens in the books.
Ooh, boy.
I can't say that for certain because I haven't gotten there in the books. But I don't really think the stuff that they do with Sansa is bad. Like if you just watch it on its face. Like the Dorne stuff. The Dorne stuff is like, you can just watch that and anybody will be like, okay, this is not very good. The Sansa stuff, it's like just kind of dark subject matter. But I'm sure
It's terrible for her character arc that they had established. I mean, it's just abysmal. What they do with that character is abysmal, even if you've never read the books. And I can say that as someone that watched the show first and then read the books.
the actress that played Sansa liked for her character.
The actress that played Sansa didn't even watch the show.
Well, she did say she was interviewed about Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. She's like, "Oh, I won't be watching it, but I wish them all well."
She won't. She didn't even watch the show she was in. She watched some of her scenes and thought it was painful.
Right.
So she only knew her story, kind of.
Yeah.
So I am glad she was happy.
I think, I guess she's been doing a lot more interviews lately because they're hyping up this. She's going to be Lara Croft in the new Tomb Raider show. And so she's been doing a lot of media stuff for that. And, of course, they're going to ask her about Game of Thrones, and that's why all this kind of stuff she's been talking about.
Mhm.
So she was happy with her character? No.
I know she was. I've read the whole article.
Oh, yeah.
Just like I read the whole George R. R. Martin article that
But
you love to quote out of context.
I will say I do like the character of Sansa significantly more in the book. And I don't know where it's going, and I'm very curious to find out.
Yes.
But I think if you go on any sort of aggregate website and see what the critical and audience reception was to Game of Thrones seasons 1 through 6, it was overwhelmingly positive.
And I always agree with
multiple
those.
season 6 episodes are highlighted as some of the greatest episodes in the history of television.
And so is a Mandalorian episode. Just a fantastic
That's not
show.
true. That was ranked as the greatest Star Wars episode.
Isn't Mandalorian listed as one of the best shows of all time on some of those
I
things you're talking about?
I don't think so.
Well, that would
I
give me
would-
more faith.
I'd be surprised. But like the from what I can tell, you go on IMDb or whatever these sites that sort of aggregate like episode rankings and show rankings and stuff. It's like seems like there's like a consensus. Everybody thinks the greatest episode of television history is like the third to last one from Breaking Bad. And then after that, it's like there's a bunch of episodes tied for second place. And the final 2 episodes of season 6 are the highest ranked Game of Thrones episodes.
I understand why you love season 6, and I love a lot of parts of season 6. It was your defense of season 5.
Season 5, I remember thinking was the best one. Whenever I had when I was watching it, I kind of just thought after season 2, each season just got better until season 7. Since then, I've kind of
Actually, it was your statement that it was anyone with a brain
right,
thought that season 5 was good.
right, and it is.
Okay, well,
Unless you hate Jon Snow, I guess.
Andrew Burns, Slow Burns tells his wife that she's brainless.
Oh.
Let's take that out
You
of
don't,
context.
you don't dislike season
Let's
5.
take that out of context. Made it good.
There is no way you dislike season 5.
Oh, okay.
It's impossible. I can understand that you don't like some decisions that they make in that season. But overall, that season is very, very good television. And it has some of the best.
that
Did we have season
season.
5? I can't remember if we did season 5 or not. It might have been the last one we did. I don't put it above right now. I think for the first 5 seasons, I think I have season 3 ranked, or no, I think I have season 4 ranked as the best.
You just reminded me that we quit that series. Why did we stop?
At the time, like we were watching a lot of Andor.
Oh, and Last of Us season 2 came out. We got
Yeah,
all that.
and then like, well, we definitely finished our Last of Us coverage, and then I also kind of got going on the top 100 artists series, which I have finished now. So we can go back to the Game of Thrones one if you want.
Okay. Well, part of me wants to wait until you finish the book so you can have a more well-rounded opinion.
Well, we did seasons 3 and 4 without the book comparison, and then we went back and did the book comparison after when we talked about the book.
That's true. So we could do it that way.
Because we're nowhere near finishing the 4th book. So,
That's
for
true.
now, we're gonna, like I kind of talked about at the beginning of this episode, we're gonna be focusing on A Night in the Seven Kingdoms a little bit. It's very George R.R. Martin of us to start this series discussion and then get sidetracked by all this other crap. So we're really channeling the
creator here.
Yeah, that's right. So we're gonna talk about the first half of the show next time, and then I will come back with my ranking of the characters up to this point, just for the book. So it's the first 3 books and A Night in the Seven Kingdoms. That's what's going to be taken into consideration for my character rankings.
Yeah.
I have like 56 characters ranked or whatever. So we'll make an episode out of that.
Okay. And this isn't point of view characters.
No,
'cause we did that.
We did that already.
Even though now you're like, what, 6 chapters into A Feast for Crows? You have 6 new point of views.
Right. And I have written down that they are point of view characters. I haven't obviously ranked them because I don't know how many more chapters they're going to have, if any.
Okay.
So yes, we're gonna leave. I think I did include the introductory character because obviously Pete's not coming back.
Spoilers.
Well, no, we talked about that on the
Right.
podcast.
It's a pattern
Yeah.
that you maybe could have predicted if you've only read up through the Storm of Swords. But I'll probably tell you when it's someone's last POV characters. You can go ahead and rank them as we go through A Feast for Crows because some of them only have 1 or 2 chapters.
Okay.
Maybe 3.
Great. So that's what you have to look forward to from us. I also am kind of getting ready to start the next big music series, which is going to be my top 500 songs, which is going to be a huge undertaking. So that'll be kind of my next big thing. But we could do, in between there, we can do obviously this Night of the Seven Kingdoms series. We could finish Game of Thrones. I don't think we ever really dissected. I think maybe we did an episode talking about like the first 3 episodes of Andor season 2, but we didn't go after that.
Right.
So that's also a possibility. All things that we might do in the future.
Yeah.
So
sorry for my scrambling for words this episode. Andrew has all of his notes in front of him. I have nothing. I pulled up a family tree. So maybe next time you'll tilt your laptop my way a little so I can sound halfway as prepared as you are. I'm sorry for Andrew's some of his uneducated take at the end of this. His apology video will be coming soon. So don't unsubscribe yet.
I don't know about that, but I think that's gonna do it for now. If you enjoy the show, you can like and whatever, comment, follow, whatever the hell you can do on whatever service that you use to listen to it. Don't forget you can write in at ControlledBurnes with an ES at gmail.com. But for now, until next time, keep it warm.
Keep it warm.